Paul from Guitar World, and I'm here with Joe Bonamassa, who needs no introduction. I hope not, at least.
I hope not at this point.
Yeah. I mean, you're pretty well known, I would think.
We don't do an introduction on stage either.
No.
I assume the people that come to see an evening with Joe Bonamassa know
what they're getting.
Knowing what they're getting, you know. I mean,
That's it.
It's an assumed transactional, experience.
And to your right is Mr. Andy Fuchs from Fuchs Amplification.
Greetings.
Now, you do definitely need an introduction, I'm assuming.
I'm famous and infamous.
We like
and
that.
And yet people still need to introduce me.
That's it. Well, we're here today at Guitar World. We're going to talk about your new, can I call it a signature amp?
It is a signature amp, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask what I think everyone's asking. So if I buy this amp, do I get to shred and sound like you?
For people who really want the dumble thing, want to get into the dumble thing, but just don't want to, can't swing it.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a recommendation. The thing about all amplifiers is they should be something that you play that allows you to get the sound that's stuck in your head out of the guitar.
Right.
And it's part of the complete toolkit. This is a toolkit. That's a toolkit.
Mm.
And when I've been back in New York City for about 6 years now, which is insane that it's gone by this fast. And on occasion, we started doing these Osnoy shows.
Yep.
at the bitter end. And I remember the bitter end had a Fender Blues, Hot Rod Blues DeVille.
Yep.
That would sound good one year, and then as it got beat down, it would not sound so good, and then Andy would fix the amp.
Right.
You do all of the amps.
Doing the bitter end backline, yeah.
And then it would sound better, and then the following year it'd sound worse. So I said, there has to be a better way. So I asked Andy to build me a combo, a 100-watt ODS combo, and I sent him a Joe Bonamassa Celestion 80, a 85-watt Celestion, and I plugged it in at the bitter end last year. Cold, and I was like, well, this rocks. and it's just this, it was this happy confluence of a lot of power in a small box. And so you could really get it to bark, and it's not too loud, but it feels like it's louder than it is. And then I called him up. I said, hey, can you build me another one and send it to Los Angeles? And everybody's like, well, what's the Fuchs? Where's the dumble, And I said, well, I like this better because it's got reverb and all this thing. And then the light went on, and I think I called you a couple weeks later and said, hey, would you want to do a run of these? And we did. And they've sold really well.
And really fast.
So essentially, you basically just wanted to create a backline between LA's baked potato and New York City's bitter end so that you have something to plug into.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm known as a guitar collector, an amp collector. I have about 500 guitar amps. And I have 10 dumble amps. And, as the prices of those have gone up, it's something to put a $200,000 amplifier in the trunk of a car.
Yep.
And drag it to a gig.
Right.
And most people won't be able to play or, spend enough time with a dumble because the prices are really crazy. And they've always been expensive amps. I mean, even back in the day. And they're wonderful. So we decided this is like obtainable unobtainium. So for $4,000, which is very competitively priced in this market, you could get that flavor and that kind of experience without having to fork out a quarter. It's a house.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, I'll trade you a home for a head.
Right.
Like, you don't want to do that. It's not.
Most people
don't.
So it sounds to me like you're basing this pretty much on a dumble framework, right? This amp, or
it's not a specific amp. It's Andy's version of that.
Right.
Amp.
Because the funny thing is, so many guitar players throw around, a dumble thing. Honestly, nobody knows what a dumble sounds like unless you actually own it. I think you were saying before, yeah, there's a dumble sound, but it's it's not necessarily specific, right?
They're characteristics that they all have.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things about a dumble is it's the fast recovery rate. It's how quick the notes recover in between, like with overdrive. So it feels like, it feels like it's recovering fast. So
Yep.
there's no sag in between. And for somebody like me, I have no legato whatsoever. So sag is bad, and it kind of trips me up a little bit. And so that was what was always attractive about it. And these amps have the same thing, where it's fast recovery rate
Right.
within the context of overdrive,
So Andy, was this built sort of on something that you already have existing and you kind of like tweaked it?
Our
is this more
ODS
like-
Classic, which is probably in production about 7 or 8 years, maybe.
Mhm.
It's the latest evolution of the dumble style circuit that we've been building. I mean, I
Okay.
started in '99 in my house part-time, modifying fenders for myself. I would go out and gig them, go to a local jam or something. Hey, what's that? Oh, I built it. No, get out of here. I did build it. And then at the end of the night, it was like, could you make me one?
Right.
So it sort of evolved. And at the time, my ex-wife said, why don't you make an amp with your own name on it? Because you're going out and everybody thinks it's a Fender or whatever it is you modified that sounds so terrific. You're going to get your name out there. You should really do your own thing.
Yep.
So I had a buddy of mine draw me up a chassis, and I found a cabinet shop. Literally the first 10 or 12 amps, and I've got one sample in the shop. I punched the chassis myself. I got the knuckles to prove it. I made the first 10 or so maple cabinets on a table saw myself, and I've got the cut in my thumb to prove that. And after that, I actually went out to Mojo Tone and said, hey, can you make me head boxes? Here's my drawing. And I went to a chassis shop because I got tired of drilling and punching. And the circuit, initially, the first thing I built was a dumble clone. I'd worked on 48th Street and We Buy Guitars. I bounced around a bunch of independent music stores in the New York area. My dad had a music store, so a lot of people knew who I was through my pop. So I was starting to get a lot of repair work from the area. And I would go out on a Saturday morning, pick up repairs, bring them back to the house, fix them. Next Saturday, I'd go back and bring them back with my son in a baby bucket in the front seat of the car, and the flashers are on. Hey, come out, I got amps for you.
Yeah.
So I started out initially, I built, and it's no secret, a blatant dumble clone. Here's dumble number, whatever schematic it was. And it sounded good, it worked great. But to me, I was like, well, I can't play this, it has no reverb. And it'd be really nice if it had an effects loop. So it was sort of an evolutionary thing where I said, all right, so I came up with a loop that I liked. And then I also used the loop to interface the reverb. If you play a blackface Bandmaster and you play a Bandmaster reverb, you can see and hear and feel a major difference because of the way they grafted the reverb in. It's like, well, we could cut the circuit here and put a gigantic resistor in and wrap the reverb around it, and then we'll just send it out to the speaker. That difference in terms of feel, I couldn't live with that. So I finally got a loop that did not mess with the feel of the amp, nor the tonality, or the attack. And then the challenge was, okay, let me try to interface reverb. And the silly thing was, I looked at it and I'm like, I'm really not that smart, but why didn't somebody else do this? So the loop, it's the equivalent as if you plugged in an external reverb and used the loop to do it, because now I'm not sucking tone. So then over the years, it started to evolve to be more of my thing. There's a boost in the front end. Dumble had a FET boost, and so do I, but mine is completely different. It uses some military-grade FETs that are super quiet. I laugh because everybody goes, man, nothing beats a good tube amp. I'm like, yeah, well, except it's got a couple of FETs in the front end. Silly me. I added the mid boost that had 2 different frequencies. Dumble had a mid boost and only had 1. This one has 2 gain boosts, which is cool. You can turn the primary gain boost on, which is the way this is wired for Joe's foot switch. It hits the front end harder and still keeps the tone controls working. Dumble's boost disconnected the tone controls, because tone controls can lose anywhere from a couple of dB. If all the knobs are at max, you don't hear a big difference. If all the knobs are at 0 and you turn that gain boost on and off, it's a big jump. This lets you hit the front end harder, keep the tone controls active. The secondary boost drops the tone controls out. So you can get a lot more gain than dumble packed into his amp should you want it, which is nice. I also added an overdrive tone control. I saw some dumbles that had a little trim pot on top of the mountain of silicone, and I discovered when I turned it that it was a very simple high cut. You know, just like the control on your guitar. It's not anything drastic. It doesn't add anything to the circuit. If you don't use it, it's not going to screw anything up. Like, this needs to be in the front. For years, we did pan reverbs. And then when this chip came out, was designed by a guy who was one of the founders of Alesis. The company was called Spin Technology. Unfortunately, the guy who designed the chip and passed away. It's his one and only monument to his ability, and it's a fantastic reverb. It's warm, it's got bounce to it. It's a studio grade reverb. So it has a level control and it has an adjustable decay. So you can do a short, almost slapbacky kind of thing. You can turn it all the way up and it sounds like you're playing in the Sistine Chapel. Somewhere around the midpoint is like a reverb pan. And that ended up being the ODS Classic, which was the last version. The funny thing was, you know, Joe said, build me an amp by 100 watts, I'll send you a speaker. You know, and I'm thinking, all right, so Joe plays a Les Paul, let me get my Les Paul out. I kind of voiced it to what I thought Joe would like. You know, everybody has visions of me and Joe and a cigar at night with my green visor on soldering. And we didn't do anything together. I just took a swing and said, yeah, he'll like this. And there we were.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, it's like Andy brought it down last year about the same time in December to, you know, the bitter end when I was playing with Oz Noy.
Talk about baptism by fire.
And I was like, okay. And I was like, by the end of the first set, I think you were sitting next to the stage, and I go, this is really effing good. And it was like, it was doing what it did was it was the right amount of power per the box. And I don't think people should be afraid of 100 watts. Because, I mean, this has a master volume on it. But every time, I always say, the more power you have, the more options you have, and the more things can happen with an amplifier before it starts to collapse.
Right.
If you have 20 watts, you're going to run out of headroom, and the whole thing is just going to collapse, especially for adding gain and all these. So having the 100-watt feature was I think the you know, because you know, you could have done it in 50 watts. That's what would have made sense. But having the 100 watt, and this way you could take it on any stage, any size, and it's like, it's plenty of volume, and it's big and thick and.
When you think about what guitar players are looking for nowadays, you know, they want smaller wattage speakers. And then I look at this amp, I know your Celestion is 80, it's 85 watt speaker and 100 watt power section. It's nothing but headroom.
Paul, I've had great luck doing the exact opposite of what the internet tells me.
I'll see.
If the internet tells me I need to do this, I'll do the opposite, and I've had great success.
I like this.
In the past, doing exactly the opposite. In my live rig, the internet says, when you see a Marshall, you need to put a Celestion in it.
Right.
I put an Electro Voice. I put EVs in the Marshall cab.
This is heresy.
And when you see a Fender amp on my stage, or one of these, or a dumble or whatever, chances are it has Celestions. I go the complete opposite. And it's about the sound that you have in your head.
Right.
It's like, what is it doing and how does it feel under the strings? And that's a very personal thing. You know, the feel under the strings is a very personal thing.
But how did you discover that? See, like, that to me requires you literally ripping out, you know, a lot of vintage gear and just constantly swapping stuff until you like, I think that'll work. I think guitar players are guilty of all that. We're always like, we hear about a new pickup and we'll put it in the guitar because it does so and so, and then we get in, it's like, oh, this is terrible. I've made a mistake. Like I'm sure you've had that.
Well, yeah. I mean, everybody's tweaked their way out of a good sound. You know, and I don't. If I find a guitar that I like, I don't change it. I won't swap this pickup. Going here's I just no. I don't even want to desolder it because like a lot of times you put it back, and you're like, it's something. It's maybe psychosomatic, but the thing is, the attack. It's how you attack the guitar. So when I have high headroom, I don't have to attack the guitar as hard. So the guitar is blooming.
Got it.
If I'm struggling to get a clean headroom or you're like it's a lot of times some amps or some settings or just whatever, it doesn't matter. You're on 1 on the guitar or you're on 10 on the guitar. It's all the same pile of mush, and you're like, there's no dynamic range.
Right.
So if you have a dynamic range and options and power, you don't have to hit this thing that hard to get the thing to bloom.
Got it.
And it's really been something that it's just years of like going, okay, I don't want to hit this thing too hard because it's compressing in a way that's messing with the attack.
But how were you able to discern, say, I've always known you to use, Silver Jubilees, Marshalls, and
Still do, yeah.
But generally, the matching cabinet usually comes with, I would say, either there's 75 watt or vintage 30s in them. And how'd you know? It's like, that's got to go.
I nicked that from Zach Wilde.
All right.
Zach Wilde, I believe he used to split the cabs.
Yes, but he used EVs, I think.
He used EVs.
Right.
He has his own version of the 12L. His is a 300 watt. The average 12L is a 200 watt.
Yeah.
Right.
Personally, I think that's a better sounding speaker. I've heard the 300 watt version. It's got a much heavier voice coil wire and a much stronger spider. And it sounds and feels different than the 200s do. Finding old EVs that haven't been reconed or beaten up, it's worth looking for. And they've gotten expensive.
They've gotten expensive because the word was out. And
it's all your fault.
Listen, the reality is with Electro Voice, what I like about with Electro Voice and Marshall amps in particular is it takes the fizzy thing away.
Yes.
And the bottom end is very true and bell-like.
Got it.
What I love about Celestions and why I chose a Celestion for this amp is the higher wattage Celestions work really well, giving the harmonics and the mid range it's like a human voice.
Yeah.
Celestions and Electro Voice speakers definitely have their roles in certain things, and you would see like Stevie Ray Vaughan. He put EVs in his Vibreverbs because he wanted the big bottom end and he didn't want it to give up. I mean, Eddie Van Halen split his cabs, JBLs and Celestions.
Right.
Mic'd them both, and then balanced them. This was early stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like you're like those kind of things make a big difference. And if you're splitting the load, so one thing is not doing everything, it helps.
I think with the higher wattage speakers, I think you're getting a fuller frequency. Why am I wrong in this?
It's not going to collapse as fast.
Right.
Because you could put like a low wattage speaker in it, and it's just like it's gonna start getting fuzzy and loose.
Right.
And all the work that he did to make the recovery rate fast is going to go away. You know.
So what's your take, since we're speaking to speakers, what's your take on, say, speakers that have been broken in as opposed to, say, newer speakers? Is this a myth? What's the talk on here?
Well, Joe and I are split on that.
Yeah?
Joe, after 6 months.
Controversy?
Well, after 6 months, Joe's like, the speaker's like shot. I need a new speaker because it's loose and to me, I feel like it's like an old pair of slippers. Yeah. Like it's broken in and it's warm and it's comfy and you don't want to mess with it.
Yeah.
Joe clearly has more articulation to his tone than I find myself using. Not that either is good or bad, but it's funny. Joe's like, well, I changed a dozen speakers and I donate them to the local rehearsal studio.
I do. Yeah, I do. The high-powered twins that I use on stage have the JB-85s, which are a great speaker. The Celestion makes a great speaker, and they have the 85 watts. We generally get about 50 shows out of those before I change them, because I feel a little sag and a little sag in the mid and They're not as percussive. So, and they're still fine. They're actually probably more preferable to, so I just take them, put them in the selection boxes, and put the word free on them at sound check in Nashville, and just give them away. And then, you know, somebody, I mean, you get a lifetime out of them. Just me, how loud I play, and how, I mean, I run everything as loud as it goes. It's
So,
And your ear paid for it.
my ear paid for it.
yeah, how's that ear doing, by the way?
It's better now.
But usually something like your ear doesn't really recover, but are you being more mindful of that?
I'm more mindful. I blew out my right ear on a tour this year, and I'm more mindful about
Can I ask how you blew it out exactly?
how I blew it out. Was just I went past the monitor at the wrong time,
Oh,
and something spiked me.
really?
And it was a kind of an odd sounding room. It was equally as kind of muted as it was enhanced at certain frequencies and like the upper mids. And because it's mostly it's a television studio when we play there, and I'm like, but what you realize when you're in a muted room and you use the same wedges and use the same amps and the same thing every night, it's no different, and it's set up proportionally the same way. You're playing at the same level. It just doesn't perceive that.
Right.
So I just was, we were hitting hard, and I just blew my ear.
Damn.
And it took about 2 days before it came back.
Really?
Yeah.
Did it affect your performance that day?
Well, we only had 2 songs left. I got off the stage and I went to my tour manager. I said, I don't think we're playing loud music tomorrow in Shreveport, Louisiana, and because I could hear the ringing. I knew it was I've been blown out before in studios and whatever, small rooms, but I was like, yeah, this is bad.
Happened to me as a kid. We were throwing firecrackers, and one went off faster than it got it out of my hand. So it was right out here, a foot from my ear. It took a week or 2 to stop ringing. That's scary.
It's called something trauma. It's an injury.
I agree.
It's like inner ear acoustic trauma or something like that.
Well, it's funny because, you know, speaking of hearing problems, I always agree. Like, I think you're one of the guys who will say it's like, you know, playing loud music is not going to ruin your ear necessarily. It's certain frequencies that kind of hit you all the time. Like, say you work a sledgehammer, or, you know, jackhammer all day,
Right.
you're going to go deaf. But like, if you move around, like, that's why I used to get rid of bad drummers with the cymbals. That's really what kills you, is the cymbal, that frequency right there.
Historically, I face out, and when I had, you know, the first 17 years of my career, I was a power trio. So I would be on the drummer be to my left.
Right.
And my left ear is worse than my right ear because of the ride cymbal.
The ride cymbal, yeah.
And that's just part of what it is.
Right.
And
that constant frequency, right?
It's a frequency. And it's there's a thing called good loud, and there's a thing called bad loud. And a bad loud is piercing, and that will hurt you. A good loud is like you feel it, but it's like, you know, it's not
offensive.
It's not offensive.
Yeah.
You know, it's like why don't you use in-ear monitors? I'm like, well, you can turn those up too, and there's no escape.
Right.
You can turn those up too loud too. So it's not like in-ear monitors are not the go well. You'll save your hearing. I'm like, well, if you turn them down, yes. But the reality is, for me, is I need to learn to listen lower.
Yep.
That was the lesson I learned.
And you don't use in-ear monitors, do you?
No, I use wedges.
Just use wedges.
Old school. In my experience of what I've heard, I've not heard moving air through a speaker done going into the modeling world improve anyone's sound exponentially where you go, wow, that's a big improvement. In some cases, I've seen it go the other way.
Right.
And I will end it at that.
All right. Fair enough.
There's something kinetic about moving parts, wire and heat and percussiveness, and how the mic sees it. And I understand I understand how, you know, it's like, you know, if you're a festival rock band, we just did this summer. You know, you got a lot of set cart. You got 15 minutes to set up. You know, it's the same every night.
Yep.
Boom, boom, you're good to go.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, you take those variables out of the equation, and it's just easier. I'm just not sure if it's better, but it is easier, and it's guitar.
Yeah.
It sounds like rock amplified guitar.
But also by doing, if you're just that much, I guess automated for lack of a better word, you're missing out on sort of the emotional aspect of playing guitar, right? I mean, you're also an improvisational player, so you rely on having that, those moments when you're on that stage where the amplifier's reacting, the guitar is doing what it's doing, and it's just you're in this magic.
Yeah,
it's magic.
And not everyone's an improvised player. I mean,
Correct.
there's a lot of artists that are just exacting.
Right.
Those parts are the same. They learn the parts. They know the parts. The MIDI does the switching on the modeling amp, and it's literally press the space bar. It is a performance, and it's almost like a Broadway performance.
Yep.
I like I being improvisational. It's like sound makes you play. If you have a good tone, if it's sounding good, the stage sounds good. You're playing stuff that you're not normally playing. Conversely, if it doesn't sound right, you're kind of going. You're struggling.
So taking me back to this amp again, let's go. I just want to come back here, and just going on what you're saying here. The one thing I'm struck the minute you plugged it in is the fact that you literally still sound like you. I mean, I know you have thousands of dollars worth of gear on on tour, and then like you started plugging in and playing the thing. I was like, Jesus, Joe sounds exactly like Joe. It sounds like any of the other stuff I've heard from
But
him.
that's part of the mystique of the dumble style amplifier. And the computer guys say garbage in, garbage out. It will definitely force you to be a more accurate player because you make a mistake and it serves it up on a silver platter.
Yeah.
There's a lot of amps, boogies, as we were talking earlier, they're very forgiving.
Yeah.
You can do shredding and do all kinds of silly shit, and your mistakes are just kind of smoothed over.
Yeah.
And this amp, if you want to be forgiven, go to church.
Well, this one here is, there's 3 settings on this. There's the clean, obviously the overdrive. And this is the hardest one, the boost, the preamp boost. But it's also the most rewarding if you stick the landing.
All right.
So if you kind of tweak the gain up a little bit here and run the master, so. It's the biggest, fattest sound, but if you don't have it, I suggest use this. So it's, I went for it. We did a charity gig in LA, and the foot switch was on the amp, and it was a kind of a big theater stage, and I was just too lazy to go back and switch the channels on this. So I just left it on the boost, and I had 2 choruses of slow blues to get through. I was holding on for dear life. But it was, when I listened to the sound, I was like, oh man, that's what you want to hear. But I just remember in the moment, I'm like, it is so articulate, and so it makes you play better.
Yeah.
And it's like,
just the overdrive channel, I could hang on that all night, but then you add that boost, which adds that, it's...
Yeah, it's, and there's,
So
again,
that just sounds a little bit more louder, a little louder, clean, a little less grit on that one, on the boost?
Yeah, it's just, it's basically, it's louder, cleaner, you can
add some more gain.
You can add some more gain by either running the master up or pulling the gain boost. Sorry, that's what that is. You can run the front end of it. mean, there's tons of settings you can get into before, and it's like different EQs.
So you set your EQs pretty, pretty
I take the little bit of top.
standard, yeah.
Yeah, I take the little bit of top off. I mean, these are my dumble settings basically. Andy's got a mid boost on the high, and I like that. So it just anything to bring it more forward.
It lifts it.
And kind of browner sound is what I like. And on the dumble stuff, I always use the FET. I use the FET. It's just punchier and more articulate. So I'm going for headroom, articulation, clarity.
Yeah.
And I'll just switch anything to just find that.
So basically, a clean, a drive, and a boost. Is it 2-channel roughly?
It's basically, I mean, with the foot switch, which is I suggest using, because you get your nice clean. There's your boost. And then you can adjust the output. And again, I think the star of this amp is the reverb.
Yeah. And you generally like a long decay a little bit, right? Is that?
I like the Gary Moore setting.
I didn't know there was a Gary Moore setting.
It's a Gary Moore setting. It's like it's
More or less.
Oh,
but he used
well
he
played.
used a lot of reverb, and I think it's a lot of times sounded to me it was like just jamming something into the front end of the Soldano or the
Yeah.
and yeah, I like a lot of Mistake Eraser. That's always good.
That's a good way of putting it. And it's a digital reverb, but it sounds really great.
You know what? I love, I mean, I grew up, my first experience with reverb as a kid was in my dad's store. So my mom played as well. So my mom had a Gemini 1 for her guitar. Dad had a Gemini 2 for his accordion. So we get a shipment from Dan Electro. It's around Christmas time. My father says, unpack that guitar. Make sure it plays, tune it up, wipe it down, plug it into that amp and check it all out. And my first experience was playing a Dano convertible into a Gemini 1 with the reverb dimed. And I just sat there and I'd like strum like, the 1-finger G chord I just learned and go, fuck. And I've been a reverb whore ever since. So to me, if I'm going to give you reverb, it's got to be good. And Marpan reverbs, again, funny with solid state versus tube, people would say, I gotta love a tube reverb. Well, the ODS always had a solid state reverb. It was a chip. Into and out of the chip, into and out of the pan, but it mixed through the reverb, so it got a tube flavor on it. And this is the same thing. It's a very good digital reverb. It's a 16-bit. It's got a wide bandwidth. Doesn't screw with your tone at all.
Yeah.
If you put the loop in series, you can actually just listen to the reverb without a dry signal, and you're like, wow, that's really good. And I wouldn't have put it in there if it wasn't that good. I got samples from a number of companies that said, hey, we've got this new chip reverb. You should check it out. It's like, yeah, no. Doesn't sound like a pan. But I got tired of like the Monday morning phone calls. Man, I gigged all weekend. I plugged my amp in and I don't have any reverb. Oh my God. It's like, all right. So I got a bunch of amps in recently. Nils Lofgren is selling off a bunch of his stuff. I got in 3 of his heads. He had 350-watt heads he toured with for 10 years. Nils never used reverb. Every one of them. Customer's like, I don't know, man, the amp's great, but the reverb doesn't work. I open it up, the springs are just bouncing around in there. They get pounded.
Yeah.
And, you try and explain to a customer, hey, listen, I didn't make the pan. The pan just gave up. And how many thousands of miles did Nils drag these things around the globe?
Yeah.
Put a pan in there and off you go.
That's it.
And then it's like, well, the new pans don't sound like the old pans. And like, I got tired of that whole variation thing.
3 springs, 2 springs. It
got nuts.
It gets nuts. It's also too. It's the summation of the sound with the reverb. So it's almost like having an effect pedal.
Yep.
Built into it.
Right.
So it's like why is a basement head punchier? Than like a deluxe reverb or a pro reverb. It's because you don't have the pedal.
Yeah.
And It just depends. But the reverb on this is really good.
So you didn't argue about having, a pan reverb as opposed to the digital?
I didn't care.
Didn't
As soon
care?
as I played it, I was like,
That was it.
The rule of thumb is if it sounds good, there's nothing wrong with it.
Any thoughts? Are you going to be doing a head version of this? 10-inch speaker maybe, or no?
Ha, tens. Who are you?
Listen, I had a friend who played one of your amps and said they loved it. They loved the 10-inch.
You know what? I'm
speaker.
actually gigging. I have a little, one of my ODH combos, I have a 110. And on its own, for me at least, it's a little smallish. And I took a 112 extension cabinet and I stacked them up. And that's really a nice balance because 10s are very fast.
Yep.
So you get a nice pick attack out of the top speaker in the combo, and then you get the push from the 12 on the bottom. So that's not a bad combination. Joe and I have talked about possibly doing some heads and cabinets versions of this.
I mean, I think a head version would be pretty cool. I would love to.
I had a couple of customers actually buy head cabinets from me. I actually had one guy, you'll love this. Guy calls up, he goes, I just bought 2 JBs. I'm like, oh, all right, that's great. Got a manual? Yeah, point them to a link online. Okay, that's terrific. Can I get a foot switch to run them both?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Well, I want to hit the foot switch and have both amps do the same thing. I can make that. Give him a price, gives me his credit card, and bam, it goes out the door. 2 amps with a serious foot switch that does all the functions and runs both amps.
that's pretty cool.
2 Ethernet cables off and running, have a blast. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, we have talked about doing that. If there's enough demand, maybe Joe puts it on the website if you're interested in this version or that. We'll see what kind of response.
And it's strictly on your website, right?
It's strictly on my website, and maybe we'll do a different aesthetic or something like that.
Yeah, we're thinking of maybe a silver face. Then we can have controversy. Blackface sounds better than silver face.
Exactly.
Oh, I see.
There's controversy in anything that I do. But no, I mean, overall, I'm really happy with how it turned out, and it was, again, the term that comes to mind is obtainable, unobtainium. Like when you're looking at these amps now that are so expensive, that it's like nobody's ever going to get there. You know what I mean? And it's difficult because you have to wade through which ones you like and which eras you like. There's a lot to know about dumble stuff. There's the sweet spot. There's the ones that don't sound as good as the other ones. So it's been a good project. It's been a really, really good project, and it's loud. It is light.
It is light for a combo.
And I came in today, like I was 25 years old, living in New York again, doing sessions for Joel Simon. Okay, bringing my own amp, and I had a gig bag and my own amp, and it was like one trip out of the cab into a gig.
Yeah.
One trip out.
Listen, I'm going to tell the audience right now, you're no elitist. You walked in carrying that amp and that guitar together. There were no roadie, nothing. It was pretty impressive.
No,
We did a couple of things to make it light, and also it contributes to the sound. It's a real American pine cabinet, which has a good resonance because there can be bad resonances or none. It's an aluminum chassis, which not only do I believe it sounds better, but it's lighter.
Yeah.
There's a toroid power transformer in there. Talk about controversy. Some manufacturers have used toroids unsuccessfully, poorly designed, underrated, manufacturing defects. Egnator's an example. I love Bruce. He's a friend of mine. He's a good designer. But he got burned by the Chinese giving him a transformer that didn't meet specs. And when they all started to fail, the Chinese said, no problem, we'll replace them, we're sorry. And they replaced them with the same transformer. So now you don't see new Egnators because they killed the brand, which is sad. Because they weren't not bad amps at the price point.
No, they were great. I agree.
And Bruce was crushed because he's like, man, I beat the shit out of these things. I tested them, I designed them. I have a guy who, I gave him specs of the American EI core, the standard square transformer, and I said, I want this in a toroid, let me see what you can do. It's got a shield between the primary and secondary. There's a copper strap which lowers line noise, and it's light. And it's got a very low center of gravity. So if you look at a vintage Marshall that got dropped where the transformers do this, we don't do that. The output transformer is American made. It's made by Habor, and they build for just about everybody.
Yep.
They bought all the wiring information when Classic Tone went out of business. Classic Tone used to be known as Schumacher, and they made all the shit in the Fender amp since the 40s.
Yeah.
So they know what they're doing, and you don't chance trying out something that's not a quantity you can live with. And that's basically the equivalent probably of a Bassman 100 output, a little bigger than a twin would be. Again, mounted to be low profile. So if the amp does get kicked around, it's not going anywhere. But the toroid is light. I run them 24 hours a day, and they're warm to the touch, never hot.
Yeah.
These amps typically run about a 5-day week. We have a burn rack that turns on and off 3 hours at a time. So you'll see a dozen amps sitting there. All of a sudden, the rack goes black. A couple hours, they get cold, start them back up again. So they cycle up. You know, I want to put the gigs on them before they go out the door, not to burn them out, but to burn them in.
Yep.
And they do sound a little better after they've warmed up a bit. We do a bias. We do multiple play tests in process. And knock wood, we've had a good return on it. Very few people have called up with any question about quality at all, which is awesome.
Yeah, and this is built to last, if knowing that Joe is going to put it through its paces here.
I'm not going to say it's an investment piece, but
yeah,
you know, at that price, it sort of kind of is.
I meant to ask, I just forgot, I should have started, but what tubes are you running in this?
6L6 power tubes, 12AX7s in the preamp. I'm using JJs in production. Lately, the JJ stuff's been very, very good. I had one or two, and you talk about silly shit, you know, one or two tubes in the field just lost vacuum on their own. I mean, I had a couple of amps in the shop, I repaired them. Customer wants to plug them in the showroom, like, I don't have any sound. And you go out there and you look inside, and there's like a tube not lit. Brand new tube. It's like, all right, pop a tube in there, and the guy's off and running. Luck of the draw. But I have to say, JJ's been terrific. We did a bulk buy of power and preamp tubes. We buy through Magic Parts. Magic Parts tests them, matches them, grades them, have a great return policy. Out of 400 tubes, I think I sent back 6, which is amazing. You know, especially in this modern age where, you know, tubes can be a little woolly.
Well, think about it, we're the last people standing.
Well, the audiophiles are using them too.
Yeah, but audiophiles and
guitar geeks.
Guitar geeks, but like, look at this cable.
Yeah.
Who's using 1/4-inch cables? Like this is our standard.
Yeah.
If you looked at the speaker cables audiophiles are using, they look like fucking garden hoses. I can hear the difference. Okay.
It's amazing.
They can their wallet feels the difference.
Yeah, no kidding.
I won't even get into that controversy.
Yeah.
How often should you change your tubes?
Well,
when you see smoke?
Well, that's a good.
Well, do you change your tubes regularly?
I feel, and I get this again. I go back to the repair analogy. Guy brings in a silver face champ or a twin. A twin's a better example. I want to get it retubed, and I look him straight in the face and go, "No, you don't." What do you mean? Okay, chances are you need power tubes because those are doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Preamp tubes are running at a given current. It's not a lot of current, and they're just doing their job. They're either going to lose gain. They're going to get noisy, they'll hiss, or they'll be microphonic, where you bang on them and they sound like a Christmas ornament. Those you want to change when they go bad. You don't want to do carte blanche tube replacement, because today a 12AX7 is $30, and a 6L6 is, whatever it is, 30, another 30 or more bucks.
Yeah.
If you don't need them, I don't want to sell them to you.
Yeah.
My dad was a repairman. His expression was, I want to earn every dollar I get. And I'm not in that business. And when you figure $30 a tube in a twin, I could bang you for $300.
Yeah.
I don't want it. If you need them, I'm going to put them in there. And they'll usually tell you, your amp might be breaking up a little too soon, so maybe I need power tubes.
Yeah.
Or I turn up my gain and it's a little hissy, maybe I should change my first preamp tube. But blanket replacement to me, it's just putting money in somebody's pocket.
Yeah.
And if a tech's willing to change your tubes just to appease you and make a buck, I don't believe in it.
Some of my best sounding vintage Fender amps have the original tubes in them.
Still.
Neil Young has New Jersey made tongue sole 6L6s in some of his tweed Fenders. And he's brought them into service to a friend of mine. And he said to him, don't change the power tube.
Yeah.
And he's like, these tubes are like 30 to 40% less than they should be.
Yeah.
I'm measuring them. I'm trying to say to him, Neil, you need to do this. Not that he's a benchmark of tone, but he's committed to that. Find me vintage tongue sole tubes, I'll put them in there. If you can't replace them with what's in there, don't touch a thing.
Don't touch it, yeah.
Okay.
I get it. Finally, accent knob. What does that do?
Just like a presence control.
It's a presence control.
Yeah, little bump. It operates in the power amp, and it just brings your highest of highs up. Just a little more snap.
I see.
Yeah, it's high treble.
I see.
Different levels of a
A little more in your face.
So
Yeah.
is in the middle, it's off, right?
Down, all the way down is off.
Never pulled that one out.
There you go.
There's a lot of variables.
That sounds great. Yeah. Well, again, I love it. Thank you for coming. This is great. And
I'm glad we could put it together.
yeah, this is great. And Joe, always some insight over here. And
Thank you very much.
thank you, Joe. That was awesome. Wonderful.